standing on the dance floor blocking traffic.
What?
Dancers moving backwards negatively through space or not traveling at all. Why is this happening more and more at your local dance hall or at dance competitions? My name is Gilbert. This is Damon here with D'Amico Dance. We're a dance studio in Houston, Texas. We're one of the only dance shows on the internet discussing current trends about West Coast swing and country western dancing. And we want to thank you for tuning in to episode 8 of Swing to the Rhythm. Today's episode, we're discussing dance floor rules and etiquette.
Shout out to Paul Austin, one of our students here in Houston, as he brought up in a conversation here at the house taking a dance lesson this past week, the Dance Floor Etiquette Challenge and what he's seeing as a newer dancer in the community, and something that we've talked about many times in the past, but we needed to be reminded to talk about it with the new wave of dancers that are coming through, because there are new people joining the community all the time, and if that topic is not continually talked about, it starts to fall by the wayside, which is the reason why we're seeing more and more of this out at the clubs and people standing on the dance floor, stopping on the dance floor and dancing negatively through space. So big shout out to Paul and the stuff that he's doing. Thank you for your support, Paul. And your posts are amazing. You're quite the influencer, and I think people are gonna really like what you have to say about dance.
Shout out to everybody that watched episode 7 last week. That episode started some big conversations about gender roles in dance. We heard from supporters, we heard from critics, and we welcome it all. Moving on, this episode is going to discuss, again, dance floor etiquette, which is something that applies universally no matter who you dance with or what role and style you decide to dance. Damon, so to start, when someone walks in, a brand new dancer, say they're going to their local dance hall, it could be country western, or maybe they even want to explore some of the other dance styles. They go to a ballroom studio, or they go out to dance West Coast swing. What are some of the things that they need to know immediately before they even get onto the floor about dance rules and dance etiquette?
First and foremost is common sense. I wish there was more of that. It seems that as a whole, the whole world has less and less of it all the time, and that's a travesty. And then just mutual respect, for other people is a big one. I would hope that people that are new to the scene would take note of what's happening in the current environment. Like, is the dance floor primarily moving, one direction, or is it moving one speed? And that when they step onto the floor, that they're trying to pretty much uphold that same thing. But some of the things that aren't being talked about, for instance, are newer dancers can't always travel the same as experienced dancers. And they're not being educated to dance on the inside lane a little bit if they're going a little bit slower. The fast lane is really reserved for people that are traveling more. And so if they're just coming in, I would just say, hey, take notice of what's happening on the dance floor around you and be a part of the solution and not part of the problem. Because it actually works really well in places where there is dance floor etiquette and it's been adopted and passed down from generation to generation. And we seem to be losing a little bit more of that each year as we go along. Dancing along, moving the same speed as everyone, which should be the case, and you followers need to make sure that you're an active part of doing that as well. It's not just about following. You also have a say in whether you're traveling the speed of traffic or not, or gently nudging a new dancer to the inside lane and saying, hey, let's move out of the way to the inside of the floor. Every little bit of that, every small comment makes such a huge difference in making sure that the overall flow of a dance place is happening well. And that's what I think we would all like. As far as some of the other aspects, young people today, I'm not sure what's going on. I don't know if they're not learning it at home, if their parents didn't dance, they don't even know to tell them. But there seems to be this underlying less and less care or consideration for other people. I have 5 children, right? And I just, I hope that it's done with no malice. I hope that it's just an oversight. But again, I want people to be more aware of what's going on. And in our community, especially here in Houston, unlike some of the other country dance communities that we've been to, we still have a large percentage of people that are traveling the perimeter of the floor. And when you walk in, it looks like everybody's on roller skates because people are moving around the floor somewhat the same speed. And then you add, progressive, which is a progressive style of country swing, whatever that the kids are wanting to do, finding it challenging to make it travel. However, I want to really compliment our Houston progressive country swing community because I feel like they do a better job than other communities because we have such a progressive dance community to begin with. People still dancing two-step and polka. So they have learned how to do the cool moves that they're learning online and that they're seeing more stationary country swing dancers do, but they've learned how to make it travel the same speed as the rest of the orthodox dancers. And so I do want to compliment you guys on that, because I think you do a better job than other communities. At the same time, the nature of the dance that you're doing stops a lot. It's upsetting that you seemingly don't care. That part is upsetting. So I would hope that if you're going to do something that stops, that you're looking around, which is not happening all that much. Some of you do. So if you do, you know who you are. Some of you aren't looking at all, and you just act like it's your prerogative to stop in front of people that are moving full speed. I'm just here to tell you it is not your prerogative. And you're going to find a lot of disdain from guys out there that are going to be willing to tell you something about it. And there could be a wrinkle there, because you're being disrespectful. It shouldn't be disrespectful. I've heard some of the younger dancers act like the older people are being disrespectful because they're dancing all over them. That is a mistake. That's not what's happening. Yeah, and they act like it's their fault. No, sir. Look at the dance floor. The dance floor is moving a particular speed. You're not moving that speed. You're the problem. It's not the other people. So if you are going to do something, you don't have to move much, but at least have the common decency to move just enough to the inside on your more stationary movements, and allow the dancers that are being more progressive to dance around the outside of you. And that goes for country swing dancers that are dancing the same style of dance you're doing, that just don't happen to be stopping at the same time you're stopping. You're doing a stationary action. So just take it to the inside of the floor just a little bit, and let the dancers that are trying to move around the floor, because we can do this in harmony. We have always done this in harmony, and we would like for that to continue. So I would like for people to be a little bit more conscious and compassionate about others out on the dance floor. Yep. Which brings to mind another thing. I'm sure you have a list of questions that you're going to come up with. But for our Orthodox dance community out there that have been dancing for a long time, I've been whistling and yelling at you guys at the club lately. Y'all know who I am, and some of you like me, think I'm funny, whatever. Some of you don't like me. I'll take it. I don't care.
I think I know where Damon's going with this. I've also had to move people along.
Right. Our Orthodox community, primarily older, but not all older. The song ends, and you crowd the exit of the dance floor for a long time. I'm talking about like a third of a song. You'll take a minute to get off the dance floor, and then you get off the floor and complain about the youngsters that are in your way. And meanwhile, you've been in everybody's way for almost a minute. Yep. And I just really want you to wake up. A lot of that has to do with, if you get off of the dance floor, take one step and stop and start having conversations with people, you're blocking up the exit for the people behind you. And it just so happens, and this is all dance communities that I know of, the more experienced dancers typically hang out at one side of the floor. We like to be around those that we're going to dance with. And so it's common for everybody to get on and off the floor at that same entrance exit. So I would just say, be a little bit more mindful. Again, be part of the solution, not part of the problem. And take your partner, walk them away from the opening on the floor, so it makes room for other people to step off the floor. I know I have, and I would suggest that you do this too. I have been exiting in a different spot.
I try to
just kind of as a natural progression of things, and walking back around, to that side of the floor, so that I'm not being part of the problem.
4 exits to each dance floor.
Maybe 6. I mean, there's 6 at Whiskey River West. There's 2 in the middle and 1 at each corner. So there are plenty of exits, so we could do that. For you new dancers out there, anybody that is a dance enthusiast that's going out to the bars or whatever, do you get on the highway without looking? Seriously, do you get on the highway without looking?
In Houston, a lot of people.
They do.
They take forever to go up the up ramp. Forever. They're going like 30 miles per hour.
Being a danger to themselves and others, right?
Crazy.
So that being said, wait for an opening to step on the floor. And when you step on the floor, you need to plan on moving the same speed as that conveyor belt the moment you get on.
Immediately.
Because people are moving forward. And it seems like people are just stepping out right in front of people. And they get mad at you when you're like, yo, whoa. And then they turn and look at you like you've done something wrong. I mean, the world is flipped upside down right now. We know that. Those of you that have been doing it forever, also have some compassion for the new people, because it's not posted anywhere. We're talking about it now, but they actually don't know what to do. Some are doing it because they're silly and don't have God-given sense to do it.
Yeah, they want to try. They're excited.
And others just aren't doing it because they don't know what protocol is. And so oftentimes, you get more bees with honey sometimes, I'm not the greatest at that. But at the same time, I'll say, whoa, and oh, you almost ran into my partner, and I'm trying to protect my partner, whatever. And I'm like, hey, just watch before you get on the floor. Oh, sorry. A lot of them obviously are being like, oh, I didn't realize.
Yep.
Well, that little interaction with me being nice about it, whatever, probably goes a long way with them looking the next time they step on the floor, and that's what we need more of.
Yeah, breaking the ice in a way that's friendly and
not
supportive.
Confrontational,
Not confrontational, supportive of new dancers trying to step on the floor.
Yeah.
All great points. I know that when I step on the floor and if I ask a brand new lady to dance, that I know that she doesn't know about the dance, this is her first time being at the dance hall, I directly go towards the middle of the dance floor because I know all of the better dancers, more experienced dancers, the dancers that are familiar with the culture, they're going to be on the outside lanes. That's a given. So then I know I'm not going to be traveling as far or as fast, and so that makes it way easier to assimilate someone that has no experience whatsoever.
That's a really great point. And the sheer difference in their comfort level, not being pressed. Because even if they're not aware of what's going on, if they're not prepared to take those first few steps the same speed as you, you're holding up traffic, and then they're feeling that pressure of other people around. I mean, that's a really great point there, Gilbert.
They're feeling uncomfortable. There's lights going on. There's loud music. There's people everywhere. So it can be quite chaotic. So for someone that's intimidated, which a lot of new dancers, the majority of them are, it's much better to go to the center of the floor. And this, of course, is with the dances that travel.
I said before, even within the orthodox dancer. Now, when I say that word, it's just to create a distinction between, more bar-style dancers who haven't had a lot of lessons and those that have been dancing more of the familiar dances to everyone in the world, two-step, polka, waltz, East Coast, West Coast, cha-cha, the more formal dance styles. There are orthodox dancers out there that make it very difficult for you to pass them when they're moving slower than the speed of traffic. And it is somewhat, and you can tell when it's on purpose. And we have some guys in our community that think it's their prerogative to go slower than everybody else, and that you can feel it all over them. It's not friendly, whatever. And I would just say, why? Just all you have to do is move over just enough for a couple to pass you on the outside of the floor, around the rail. You're not moving as fast as everybody else. So what? You do you, but why does it have to be in the fast lane, right? That also brings up the point that those of you that are dancing a little better, you've got more time in, you've got more skill, you've taken some lessons. Don't be so quick to bounce to the inside of the floor. Very gently impose your will on the outside. Be nice about it. But it's just like, oh, excuse me, and I do that a lot. I know you do that a lot. Excuse us, especially when it's a couple that you realize doesn't have a whole lot of experience. And so that gentle reminder, again, I'm not being ugly. That gentle reminder makes them go, oh, we need to move over a little bit. And you'll see them kind of go, oh, sorry, and some don't. They're looking at you like, get off me. And you're like, oh, wow, okay, you're one of those. Whatever. Look around the room.
We're talking about country western dancing because it's very popular in Houston, very popular in Texas, very popular in states outside of Texas. What we're seeing is that they will walk onto the floor and stand by the railing with their friends and impede and restrict and block the movement of dancing.
Right.
And
then have an attitude when you ask them to move. Whether you ask them nicely or not. The
clubs do not address it for the most part. They're not telling these dancers or these people that are there to have fun, there to experience the dance culture in the dance hall.
And that's a problem. As of late, I've noticed that even the staff, they walk by and don't say anything to these people standing on the floor. And you got to wonder, why not? Well, that's because management isn't training them. Even worse yet, lately, some of the staff are standing on the edge of the dance floor, act like they're policing the action when there's nothing to police. They're not asking people to get off the floor that are in the way. So what are they policing? Why aren't you doing that from off the dance floor? So now the staff, as of late, have you noticed?
Well, stampede happen all the time.
Oh my gosh, and they're standing on the floor in the way of the dancers, acting like they're doing their job. But that's because they're not being told how to do their job. That's not even their fault. Should they use common sense? Yes. Is that going by the wayside? In large part.
Well, also, I'm sure it's a status flex.
It is. It's weird. It's a weird thing. I don't get it. Some ways you can help with the way the floor flows. Again, try to be nice out there when you're asking people that don't know better to not be in the way. All dances are designed to present the lady to the outside of the room. All dances are designed that way. Don't know this already, you should always favor the outside of the floor. And if you're favoring the outside of the floor and you're like, I need to be closer to the rail, I need to be closer to the rail. If you were doing that, it would be much easier for you to dance with most people, and for guys that don't realize that you belong on the outside of the floor. Be at the rail, and that's where the dance floor is the biggest, that's where it's largest, obviously, that's the biggest track. So when I'm spinning someone moving around the floor, I make sure they're vectored, that they feel like they're moving toward the outside, not the inside. I like to say, cast your net away from the boat. But here's the leader on the inside of the floor with a little bit of a tug. Come over here, get in front of me, not even knowing that they moved that. And then there's two awkward basics back out to the rail. Well, we should do a better job of choosing her vector, helping them with their vector, the line that you intend for them and the line they intend to dance on in space, right? You know, so that also can be a huge help. And the better you leaders get, the more skillful you become and asking them specifically which direction you want them to follow, right? No different than if someone stops in front of you and you're like, whoop, let's go around them, and they feel that and they adhere to your wishes, and you go around, you know, the couple that's standing in the way. You know, that sort of. Now we do patterns where I will pass on the outside. Well, once I pass on the outside, first it was deliberate, so you felt like you needed to move to the inside for me a little bit because that's the way I set it up, that's the way he sets it up. But once we're past you, you should naturally work back to the rail. The leader's role is left foot dominant, and the follower's role is right foot dominant. So it automatically lends itself to kind of want to, if you're not paying attention, kind of move to the center of the floor. Also, the person moving backwards, and in large part, especially with newer dancers, the follower is moving backwards more of the time. You don't know exactly if the person you're dancing with has your back. You don't know if they're going to keep you from running into someone, so it makes you a little gun shy, which means you're moving away and toward the center of the floor. And you also, on top of that, you're getting to the end of the floor, and you're like, I know the end is near, I can feel it without even looking over my shoulder, and so you start to cut the corner early. You know, and so followers, again, if you just recognize that's what's happening, in large part, the follower kind of makes the dance floor collapse simply because the leader doesn't quite have the skill set yet to keep them on the outside of the floor when they're not a willing participant, you know, to do so.
What happens with dance floors like racetrack dance floors and awkwardly shaped dance floors and slotted dances like West Coast Swing?
Right.
How should someone navigate those types of examples?
That's a good question. And the racetrack dance floor should be exactly the same as a regular rectangle. There's no middle. There's a little bit of a middle, but not much. And so it's even more important that everybody in there has a little bit better understanding of how the floor should work. So if you happen to be dancing to a song where someone could be doing a stationary dance and a traveling dance, the traveling dance should still be on the outside, and then the stationary dance should be against the rail on the inside. Yeah, and then again, same with the faster couples on the outside and a little bit slower couples on the inside, a little bit slower than that on the inside again. You know, so that's important. When it comes to West Coast Swing, what I really would like for the community, our community, every community to understand is that you don't always have the room to stretch out, you know, and dance a really huge slot. And West Coast Swing has become more and more liberal in a sense that it's a larger slot. It's twice as wide and twice as long. We're doing a lot of traveling, cool patterns, and the styling is lending itself to being bigger and more flowy and more lyrical. And as a result, you know, I just want people to go, is it crowded in here? I can't dance my patterns as big. I can't dance my slot as big. And that also in the West Coast Swing world seems to be falling by the wayside. You know, and it's like we should be more aware of our surroundings and how much space we have. On the same topic, Wednesday nights at Marcone's, you know, that's not the biggest dance floor. It's decent, but it's not the biggest dance floor. Yep. So each night when the lesson ends, I always try to remind everybody, hey, if you're the couple that's on the outside of the floor, make sure that you're close to the wall or close to the rail. So what happens is they don't want to be too close to the wall, so they move a slot and a half, maybe 2 slots over, and that's an entire 2-3 slots on that long wall that are wasted because you're kind of dabbling over there because there's nobody over there, but now you've taken up an entirely another slot, you know, moving toward the center of the room. And so I would just, you know, I like dancing against the wall and dancing against the rail because it's not a person that's moving around. I know where it is all the time. So I like dancing against the edge, you know, because I only have to worry about the people on the other side of me. And so, I just really wish that people would go, hey, there's a lot of people here. More people would like to dance at the same time. I'm going to dance my slot a little bit smaller, and I'm going to make sure that I'm against the wall if I'm against the wall. And if there's room for 3 slots down that wall, then let's make 3 slots instead of just 2 slots down that wall. It also helps because we seem to be like programmed. People will dance completely end to end. And it would be nice if it was mildly offset, which would make a big difference, but we seem to want to line up single file, except for when we're in class and we forget how to line up single file. I don't get that. But on the social floor, they're really good at single file. In class, not so much. Whatever. But I really wish that people were doing that a little bit more. And one thing you've heard me say a whole bunch of times, because I repeat the same jokes over and over. Yep. If you get out there on a floor, a West Coast swing floor, and you have a lot of room to dance, or a country floor and you have a lot of room to dance, they're closing soon.
Yep.
So we have to get better and better at dancing in tighter spaces. When we went to a couple of dance events this year, very little consideration for other people when it came to stepping on the floor. Now, there was too many people in that building, which is a good problem to have. When you're at an event, you want there to be a lot of people there. Yep. But man, holy cow. There is no slot, and people step right out and try to create a slot right where you're standing. And that is a new development over the last few years.
Rather than continue to walk
out.
Go
find the spot with least resistance. Go to the back of the floor. Go over there. Yeah. Whatever. And I'm talking about they don't care. Yeah. They literally don't care. They step right out there and create a new slot right where two couples are dancing. I just want people to be a little more, compassionate.
Aware.
And aware of the other people around.
And what about, to end the episode, what about trying to walk through a slotted dance? It's almost like a gauntlet.
It is, and I would just say, use your spidey sense. Have you ever played Frogger?
That's exactly what it's like.
I would say, not only that, but if you're a West Coast swing dancer, you're going, oh, they're doing a sugar push, and you know that you can get around the end of them.
Exactly.
Pay attention. Yep. It's like, oh, they're doing a side pass, or oh, they're doing a whip. They're going to go over here. They're going to go over there.
Yep.
Whoop, go to the next lane. Don't get hit.
And take your partner with you.
And take your partner with you.
Yeah, because sometimes.
Yeah, that is true leading.
Exactly.
And following going on right there.
Come on, we're surviving this. We're navigating this dance floor together. Yeah. Thanks everybody for tuning into episode 8 of Swing to the Rhythm. Again, my name is Gilbert. This is Damon here in Houston, Texas. Make sure to look into the description. We have a bunch of new products online. A masterclass available, 31 videos that you can purchase to teach like us and to also dance like us. And we also have our crash course bundle with our first book. It's Swing to the Rhythm. It's up here in the corner if you can see it, Swing to the Rhythm. And our second book is releasing sometime in the next 2 weeks. That will be available for purchase. Anything else, Damon?
The 10 for 10. We've got our 10 for 10 anchor challenge that we're doing just to challenge you, a personal challenge for you. We also might want you to drop a couple of videos of you practicing in the comments section. But we're creating a bunch of new products. Oftentimes people come to me and want anchor variations. So we did 10 anchor variations with 2 bonus anchor variations for you, 10 for $10, and hopefully in 10 days. So we get that request a lot. What can I do on my anchor that's different? And so we created that video for you today that will be dropping very soon.
Great.
Thanks
guys.
Thanks for watching.